Hello and welcome to another edition of KJ's Corner. I am your host, Kyle John Fenton, where KJ's Corner is essentially, I grab people like Mando over here and I say, hey, let's have a conversation. So hopefully I can formalize that so you can take some of that and maybe upskill yourself professionally, or at worst case, you just enjoyed a good conversation between two people. We are under the I'm Breaking Into Tech umbrella. So if you are trying to break into tech sales, we do have a community on Facebook and YouTube, as you can see, and also on LinkedIn if you want to give us a follow. But enough about me and my show. I could talk about myself forever, but that's why I have a podcast. So I'd much rather feature a guy right here. This is, if I say your name properly, put me honest here because I didn't check right in the beginning, Mando Sallavanti III, right?
Yes, sir.
That's
yes,
it.
Sir.
That's Italian as hell. Love that, right? I think you go by Mando, but I'm sure people probably say Mando, right?
It's back and forth at this point. I don't even correct people anymore.
Why can't you, right? You're like, I just want you to talk to me. You have my business. Yeah. Anyway, what he does, he actually works with Mass Mutual. I do also know you do some advising on the side from an investment perspective as well. You're a certified financial planner. I think you're an awesome dude. I think we got along great because we're both from smaller towns in the northeast of the United States. Enough about that. How are you, man? How are things?
I'm doing great, brother. I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So you told me real quick, burying the lead a little bit, you said there's some exciting opportunities coming and kind of it rains, it pours. You've been very active on LinkedIn, to give Mando his flowers here. He's got 27,355 followers on LinkedIn. If we're going to compare it to me, I got 3,000 something. So now I have the beauty of you only hit follow first instead of connect, which is great. You've been there for a super, super long time. So before we get into any of that, what have you done to build that following? Because I followed you randomly from connections, then we had the DM, had a conversation, then I was able to get you on this, which is awesome. But what have you done to grow along, and what's coming down the pipe as a result of that? Just curious.
KJ, I mean, if you think about our relationship, like we were complete strangers.
Yep. We still kind of are.
still kind of are. Like, this is the first time we're talking offline, right? But even just like coming into today, I feel like we have spoken in direct message, but I feel like I know you already.
Yeah, we spoke on the phone.
On the call now. But the whole idea is like, I've just posted content every day with the mindset of
seatbelt, baby, red seatbelt,
right? Red seatbelt, but build one relationship at a time.
Yes.
So when I started posting content on LinkedIn like 2.5 years ago, the whole idea then was, how do I get business for my business? Like, how do I grow this out, get more clients, right? But over time, I just realized, well, you get business when people know you, like you, trust you, but also need, want, and value what you do. So, so over time, I'm like, all right, well, I'll just focus on like making friends and go from there. And ton of conversations later, ton of offline Zoom calls later. It's just, it compounds to all these people that apparently want to see what I have to say every week, which I'm so grateful
That's where I'm in, right? At a lower scale, obviously, because I'm not selling a business, but like, people are like, we love when you cut it up in your car talking about.
But yeah, man, like that's kind of been the culmination of it. Just one relationship at a time, and I can't even believe it's over 27,000 now. It's nuts.
Yeah. Well, because and I think the big thing that I wanted to kind of give you your flowers on is what I've noticed about you and your genuine nature, which is probably leading to a lot of these opportunities, is you're like sincere. You're not coming from a like toxic positivity lens. You're not also being negative either. Like, and especially being in the advising space, which I'm sure a lot of people can use some tough love on, right? You kind of have to be real. And I got that immediately. And I was like, oh, that dude's great. So I just want to give you your flowers on that. You're going to grow naturally a following if, one, you have something that's worthy to say, but you're not being self-serving immediately. And I think that's what you've kind of built your business on, right?
Yeah, and I think also, too, a lot of people aren't willing to actually say what they believe and think because with good reason. I mean, there's a lot of people on the internet that will come for you, and they're very negative, and I get a ton of negativity that
dude, because you're doing something great.
I've learned, you know what, man, like I've learned to deal with it, but I think the one thing that I'll give myself credit for in the journey is that I'll still do those things. I'll still put myself out there and what I believe, and I'm not afraid to disagree with someone, but I think what I've gotten very good at is going about it the right way and learning to agree to disagree. And if someone's still going to be a jerk, like there's a reason there's a block button, right?
Yeah, dude, for real. Yeah. And I've learned that too. And it's, I think in a world that is so connected, it's very easy to formulate an opinion, stick to that opinion, especially if you're not challenged on it. And I think that's a lot of the time where a lot of it comes from. It's usually projecting and so on and so forth. I'm sure you agree to some point, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, most of the time, at least with the negativity that I've noticed, like, you can look at someone's profile, and this is a sad part, but usually the people that are actually online being negative, it's because they're dealing with an issue themselves and they're projecting that onto someone else. And it's sad, but it's 9 out of 10 times I found it to be the case.
Yeah, and and we talked about this too, because I actually have another podcast, which, hey, by the way, if you want to listen to that, Carolina WrestleManiacs, I'm a wrestling fan, and we talk whatever. It's a little bit not safe for work. I definitely am a lot more colorful on that one because I'm usually drinking a little bit on that. But needless to say, we talk about this a lot where sports fans, it's kind of close, and this is a good segue into what I want to discuss with you specifically is sports fans sometimes, as much as we athletes want to laugh at them because usually the people who are the most critical couldn't even freaking do the sport they're like critiquing, right? But there's a level of like satisfaction that sometimes like depressed people or people just dealing with a struggle get by vilifying people behind a keyboard, right? Because it protects them from whatever. So it was really interesting when my buddy Jake brought that up, because I was just like, well, is it worth stopping? And I think sometimes I've gotten to a point where it's like I would much rather let people just embarrass themselves so I can understand that that's a reality in people's lives, so I can see if I can make a change later, right? Like it's, I don't try to look at this like, oh, this is the problem with whatever. It's like, well, that's one person out of like how many, right? Like, don't let the one person ruin it for everyone else. You know what I mean? So that's how I feel about it. How do you, like, is that kind of where you've gone with?
No, 100%. Because also, and I think this will resonate. Whenever you try to go back at these people, what's the outcome you're really going to get? You're like, all right, ready for this one? Amount of times I've changed an angry stranger's mind on the internet is 0, and it probably will be forever. So, I had a guy commented on my stuff the other day. I had a post that was like, look, followers matter regardless of what people post.
Yeah,
followers,
they do, of course.
And the whole idea was like, and this is honestly what we're talking about now. My business has grown as a direct result of the eyeballs I get on my profile, on my content, on my things on LinkedIn. And my life has been changed from it, which is I'm not saying that lightly. And this guy
that's not hyperbole, dude. You
so
are.
This guy comes in and comments on the post, right? And he's like, and long story short, he's like, nah, they don't matter. And your career as a financial advisor is going to be obsolete in 20 years anyways. And it said a couple other mean things and whatever. And I looked at
tell that to the 60% of people who don't have 1,000 in their freaking savings account. Okay, dude, like, come on.
Brother, and I looked at his profile and his last 3 posts on his profile had 0 likes, 5 likes, and 1 like. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're obviously going to say followers don't matter. But then I can look back and be like, well, this guy's probably hurting inside, wondering, why am I not getting followers? Why am I not getting likes? So I empathize with that, Of
course, yeah. And it goes down to like, and it's what you said in the very beginning. You can be liked, and not for nothing, there are people who do buy followers, and they are part of the pod engagement and the vanity, and they're chasing that. But they become obsolete when you see through the bullshit. You're not bullshitting people, dude. You work for Mass Mutual, and you're doing your own thing. Like, that's real. And also, too, like, I know you're younger than me. You're like, what, 27, 28 at this point?
26.
Yeah, exactly. See, I'm freaking right. Like, I'm sitting there, like, you're doing fine, but it's more people don't see that. People don't want to see that. They just want to vilify. And I love that you're taking more of a empathetic approach on that. I think there needs to be more of that. But I think having conversations like this and exposing it, like, hey, yeah, we know we're doing well, but like, we know we're coming from a place of privilege. Why don't we use that to help others? And that's what I've seen. Like I said, that's why I followed you, because I was like, wow, he's just about it. Like, you're just cool. Like, and if you haven't listened to any of his stuff, like, and you got the flashes going now, the videos are all really nice, which, hey, by the way, for you, it makes sense. But I can tell you're legit because you don't work at these places for a long time and build a business, financial advising or advising, planning, whatever, if you're not good. I've had plenty of advisors that sucked at big companies. You know what I mean? Like, so, kudos to you on that. But enough about this. We'll segue into what we want to talk about here. I think we're speaking from a similar lens, because something that I really, really appreciated about you, and something that I appreciate about some folks I come into contact with, not a ton in the professional world, which I thought I would, but maybe it's because I work in like a super high tech industry. That could be the case because we're all a bunch of nerds. I played football. I stopped playing football by the time I hit college because I was 5'7", $175, and I went to Syracuse. So probably not making the team on that. And if I am, I'm probably sitting riding maybe a kickoff or two or something like that. But you actually followed that whole dream, went to college. And I bring all that up to say we can obviously cut it up. I'm going to ask you what your favorite era is, favorite moment. But I'd love to hear your journey from football to becoming the intern and the things you pulled along the way. Because when I look at especially the selling motion, which, hey, to some degree, you're dealing with that too. It's not a typical B2B or B2C selling motion per se. But people
I'm B2C sales. I'm financial advice.
That's what I mean.
B2C sales.
It's B2C sales, right? So like you're looking at different stages. So I'd love to, when I look at those stages, I'm like, all right, this is a discipline. And I'm like, it's a playbook, right? I'm like, okay, cool. In the playbook, where are we at? We 1st and 10? Are we 2nd and 15? Or is the back against the wall? Whatever. And I've learned so much from like football and I've just naturally infused it. And then when you start looking at methodology. So I digress. I'm going to step off my soapbox now. You played football. You played at an elite level. What were some of the favorite moments? And then let's delve into what you've taken in your career. I'll just let you run from here, man.
I think when I look back on it, man, the best of times were during training camp in college. It was the meetings that I never wanted to go to in college. It was the workouts. It's like, it's so cliche, but it's just the truth. It's all those little things that you take for granted in the moment that now years later, when that like life you had is now dead, for lack of a better way to put it, you wish
I'm not just spending 4 hours on a football field, like running around the damn thing, throwing up because we had to do it in a minute.
Right. Like you just wish you could have one of those workouts. Right. And I think the biggest lesson I took from college football, especially high school, yes, but college football, especially,
we're all hormonal as hell in high school. Like,
no, right. But this lesson is what I think translated the most into business, where you had a schedule that you had to follow. You had to be at the weight room. You had to be at practice. You had to be at meetings. You had to, like, our coaches were so nuts. We literally had to have an app that geo-located us, and we had to check into our classes and pinpoint our location on the app.
Honestly, good.
So, like,
good.
Right. So like you couldn't lie and like sign into class and you were never there.
Yeah.
You had to go to class. There's no, unless you literally gave your friend your phone and was like, go to class for me and check me.
Who the hell's gonna do that? Like, come on, like, unless you're like some stud or whatever, and you're getting into parties.
But no one's doing that regardless. So, anyways, all of these things in that structure. When I got into business, like as a financial advisor, I can run my practice however I want to. I can work 2 hours a day. I can work 15 hours a day.
Right.
It all depends on what I want to do for my practice. But that rigid structure of football that I had, where I had to do all these things, I carried it over. And I looked at my business world now and I said, okay, well, what is my workout? What is my practice? What is my meetings? What's my film study? And what translates to these activities in my business now? And in doing those and treating my life like that and living off a calendar, really, I think it's something that's allowed me to get much further ahead than I otherwise would have had I not approached it that way.
Sure. So let's delve into it, right? Because I mean, hey, you're advising regularly, and I'm not going to have you expose your clients, obviously, but like, do you notice that, sometimes when you talk to people who they come in and you're like, oh, you were a jock. Do you think they get it a little bit more or not? Like, I know I'm pushing that thing here, but like what you're talking about is like, that's rigid structure routine. And I'm not really structured at all. And maybe it's because I smoke a little weed here and there, but like for the most part, I still remember like, and as you were talking through that, like, yeah, the workouts. Okay, cool. I know I got to go to bed early at a decent time. I know I got to grab the, meal. So that way I can have a snack while I'm, 2 days, whatever. Like you're already thinking about that. And if you don't do that, well, it's hard to clear your head. So I ask you, right, when people come in and they're asking for advice, what are some of the traits on these people, and does athletics play into it or not? I'd love to just hear, some things that you've seen.
Well, that's an interesting question, because I haven't really thought about that at all, honestly, in terms of
I'm putting you on the spot, man. I'm just asking,
No, but what I will say, and I haven't thought about it in terms of the athletics part of like, is there that commonality? Because obviously, like, hey, we have clients around different ages and whatnot. But what I will say is this, the commonality that I see with, I'd say KJ, probably 75 to 85% of the people I work with, it's that they're really high performing at what they do, whether and most of my clients are sales executives or sales managers, or they're just executives in the C-suite, like at that level. So
because you're more high end,
Right. Like, so think like enterprise account executives, managers, C-suite executives, that range. Anyways.
I mean, us connecting, you were like, okay, he might be ready. I'm good now, obviously, but yeah.
So they're really good at what they do, but the thing with them is they're just like, I only want to be really good at that. Like, I don't want to have to learn all this stuff about finance. And yeah, I'm a really smart person, but why should I even waste my time here when I want to spend time with my family and be more intentional?
Sure.
I want to spend time upskilling in my career so I could just perform better there. And I'll pay someone to not only offload this, but optimize this. So that's like from a 30,000 foot view, that's really the mindset that most of the people we work with have.
Yeah. And so I guess, you know, as we dig deep into that, right, the whole point of this is like, how do we unpack that mindset for ourselves, right? What are some of the things that you work through with your clients that if they're not in the financial position, because, hey, at the end of the day, you got to have money in order to make it. I mean, I think that's true. So what are the things that you help people do to unpack? I know you've released these strategies before. It's a teaser, obviously, but like, what are the things that you're helping them? I know it's emotional, but how do you get people to just like have that click to be like, oh, maybe I should have a life insurance policy. Maybe I should have disability. Maybe because for me, I'll even admit it. When I was like 23, 24, I got hooked in early, but I was like, a term life. I was like, does that really matter? Then I thought about the family part. But that was me understanding someone was coming to me with that. So I'd be curious to hear like, what are things that you do? And then ultimately, how do you help people get through that?
So with any recommendation that I'm making for a client, whether it's an insurance policy or they need to get their wills for their estate planning, or if it's like, hey, max out your 401k or whatever action I'm trying to inspire, it's a sale, whether it's something as simple as like put away $1,000 a month in your savings. Like you gotta build your savings up, put $1,000 a month there. I'm trying to sell them on putting more money in their savings account, right?
Right. I'm trying to sell them on do it.
So if it's like, it sounds funny when you think about it that way, but seriously it is. So if we think it's sales, let's unpack that and think about sales at a broader level.
Go nuts.
Typically it comes when the pain of staying the same is so much greater, or so much less, or so much greater, I should say, than the pain to change. So how do we take the future pain of what will happen as the consequences of if we don't put this money into savings? Okay, KJ, so I have a client, let's say that they don't have enough savings. Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Klein, I want you to put $1,000 a month away. Well, why? Okay, so what's going to happen if you don't put it away? Well, if we don't put it away and we have this expense and now we have to change our roof on the house, and then that's going to be too big, and now we have credit card debt, and then we're paying these credit cards off, and now we can't save for retirement or our kids' college, and then we don't put them through there, so now they have to choose a different school instead of the one that they wanted to go to. Like, I'm just completely brainstorming right now, but ultimately, to get people to change their behavior with their finances, it comes from understanding emotionally what the change in your life is going to be. Because if I tell you go invest in the stock market, okay, like, cool, but why? What is it doing?
Why? What? Yeah.
It all comes down to what is the outcome we're solving for. And that's why our process is completely centered around vision. Like, we get very, very personal with the clients we work with. Where do you want to be in 5 years? What's important to you? Why do you want to be there? My favorite thing in the world, you're going to laugh at this, is when I'm like, what's your vision? Where do you want to be? What's your biggest goal? Why are we here today? Well, I want to have $1 million by the time I'm 30. Okay, well, why?
do you want it in cash?
Okay, but why do you want $1 million when you're 30?
Right.
Well, I don't know. Like, I'll just be on a good pace. And okay, but a good pace for what? Well, I don't know. Like, it'll just like put me in a good spot, and like it'll be a lot of money. So I know I can
be a millionaire. Duh.
Well, okay, so let's just say I dropped $100 million in your checking account tomorrow. What would you do?
I would throw 90% of that into the market.
but the answer, regardless of investments or savings, the answer to that question should be what we are solving for, because money's a tool at the end of the day. Like, it just is.
Yeah. And I love where you went with that, man. There's so many similarities between what you just went through and like what I do day to day, right? So I'm a software, sales engineer. So I'm not prospecting out. I'm usually pulled in afterwards to give the demonstration, but everything you do is what I do in that call. It's either someone's told me this is the pain that they're solving for, and I go, okay, well, if I want to achieve this solution, here's how you build that, and here's how you do it. But guess what? I'm not implementing it for them, right? So everything you said is just so similar, and it all goes back to the pain, but quantifying the pain. Because someone saying they want to have $1 million is great, but just like you said, what are you going to do with that? Just because you hear people are millionaires, that's great. You know how many millionaires are probably saddled with like debt, and they're over on shit, like they're under on a bunch of shit. Like, not everything you see is legit, right? And then like I look at other people who like when we talked about this, I remember briefly, which is like shit on Ramsey. I go, hold up. Ramsey built a following by actually helping people who like couldn't necessarily help themselves, right? Like, don't badmouth his, oh, he doesn't have credit. Yeah, he could buy 10 of your houses right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but you get there by, I think it's the discipline you're describing. And I just love that. There's so many similarities between what you do and what everyone else does. It's like, I really want to have this conversation, just be like, it's all relative, man. Like, if you want to succeed, and I'm sure you agree, and I'd love to just hear on this. It's like, if you want to succeed, it's like, understand what you're good at, which, hey, right, what position did you play in football, by the way?
Linebacker.
I
was a little bigger when I played.
Yeah, linebacker. Yeah, and you fucking probably just want to like nail people as they're coming through the line, you maniac. Freaking hated guys like you because I just get lit up because I played quarterback, right? But needless to say, what did you find when you were younger? A little bit aggressive, a little bit bigger, could take advantage of it. You played linebacker, and then you learned, okay, man, I got to be, right? We're playing defense, right? And your spine, I bet you every set was 4-3. And what were you, the spy? Were you covering? Were you middle or were you outside?
So we played a 4-2-5. I was a Mike. I was a Will. I played both, man.
You just did it all. It didn't matter. Yeah. But yeah, Mike and Will, yeah, you guys are crazy, right? Because, oh, yeah, you got a blitz. Yeah, you're ripping right through. And you hope that, oh, dude. But you got good at that discipline, realized you were good at it, followed it, and then everything fell, everything fills in from there. And I think for anyone listening to this, if you're like, how do I unpack it? How do I make more money? It's like, you're good at something professionally. Figure it out. And if you're not good at it now, I'd argue, right? Just like you did, Mike, Will, you switch positions. I actually was a bigger kid. I played center until I was 13, 14. Because then everyone else is going through their growth spurt. I stayed the same, and it's like, well, now he's got to play skill position, doesn't he? So that's what happened. But it's recognizing the change and being the change, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. And I think it comes down to what are the skills if you reflect on your career, what are the skills that you've slowly learned and stacked and developed, and now they've led to the person that you are today? Because you can, like, let's look at me from a very broad lens. Or let's look at you from a very broad lens. So someone says, okay.
Yeah, broad stroke me, baby.
Like, let's say, okay, KJ, you're a very good sales engineer or whatever or solutions engineer.
I have been told that.
Okay, so you're a very good solutions engineer. Well, what makes you a very good solutions engineer? Because if we unpack that, it's not just like you're naturally born at that. Now, some of the things that make you good at it, you probably naturally add, but there's probably 57 different micro things that you do very well, like shake your head yes when the other person's talking, or like smile when you get on a call. Like it sounds so stupid, but like these little things add up to be who we are, right?
Yeah. And to stroke my own ego a little bit, because hey, you teed me up for it. Yeah. By the way, I'm charming. I have a podcast. That's great. You know what I also know? Low code tooling. You want to automate something from A to B? Give me your systems, give me your inputs, give me your outputs, and I guarantee I could diagram something that would show you the solution. And if I know the product, I'll actually demo it to you as well. That shit is the game changer. So I tell people trying to break into like tech sales, I'm like, learn the tech. They're like, what? I'm like, hey, what we're talking about is great. These are the must-haves, but eventually at the end of the day, just like you said, you have to actually understand how the market works. You have to understand how those life insurance policies work.
Right.
You can't bullshit your way through the ultimate product, right?
You're going to cap out. You could BS your way to a certain point, and then you're going to get to a point where like the higher level of people that you will be dealing with will see right through it. And that's where it becomes, oh man, I really got to get these skills, right? So you're spot on.
Yeah, man. Dude, I know we only have a few more minutes here. Is there anything else you wanted to unpack here a little bit? I thought that was a fantastic 24 minutes right there, to be honest with you, because it was just, there was a lot. We're shooting shit and, we can talk forever, but I really just kind of wanted to get your mindset behind it. I guess the big thing I'm asking here is, one, thank you for the time, but more importantly, is there anything that you'd like to leave people with? Remember, this audience it's my friends, my family, people on, in the network, but also people trying to break into tech sales as well. Something I would actually, now that I'm thinking as I'm circling through this, and this is definitely staying in the pod, would you suggest potentially looking at advising as a career for individuals trying to break into tech sales? And I say that because I'm not saying it's a lesser of a learning curve. That's not what I'm saying. But I think it's a little bit easier to understand once you get into it, because tech, usually there's some sort of, it's either cloud or it's databases or it's whatever, and there's like an inherent I'm just curious. You think it's a good path for people to follow? Is it not? I mean,
so here's what I will say about advising. I think that you can ramp up to a successful career quicker than most industries for this reason. In our industry, there's something we call it joint field work, where let's say I'm a brand new advisor and I've never worked with someone before on their finances, but I'm a good prospector and I could get in front of a lot of people and I could get
BDRs and SDRs, baby.
Right.
Yeah, it's so, shit. Yeah.
So I could get people interested. You can come in, bring in a senior advisor or someone that's been experienced, been around. Like I work with some newer advisors on this now where I come in and I'm going to take their clients through the planning process. They're kind of managing the relationship. They're learning from me. Mm-hmm. They're making more money than they would have because we're getting clients they wouldn't have. So if you can come in and you're good at sales, you're good at prospecting, it could be a fast trajectory for you. Granted, it's still hard. I mean, if you look at the math,
I'm not trying to diminish it at all.
No, absolutely. I get that. But if you look at the math, it's 9 out of 10 people are out of the industry in 3 years, which sucks.
Which
but
tracks with sales too.
Yeah. I think it's because they don't lean into the help. So if you can lean into the help and find a mentor and find someone that could really take you under their wing, you could ramp up relatively quickly if you just go about it the right way.
Dude, I'm ending on that. That was fantastic. I love that. Speaking of mentors, are you someone that is willing to answer a DM? I know the answer is yes, but can you tell everyone that?
Yeah, of course, man. Look, I'm like inbox 0, DM 0 guy. Like I leave nothing unread. So if people DM me, you can know I will read it. The only way I'm not answering is if I just think you're a jerk, which is very few people. So
right. Or just like I said, this could be good practice, right? Connect with, someone like this, right? Who has not necessarily a ton of time. He's running his own business. And by the way, I'm pretty sure, didn't you just get engaged as well?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, we're getting married next year.
So now, so you're getting married next year. So you're going to be planning for that. And then I'm sure, is it, how do you say your wife, fiance's name? Is it Mattia? Mattia. I should have done that. My wife's Italian. I messed it up. I'm sorry. Yeah. So Mattia, right? I know eventually she'll be like, hey man, want to start having babies or whatever. So time's going to be dwindled. So if you want to connect with Armando, please do on the LinkedIn. Thank you so much for the time, man. I thought this was a good, quick chat. Nonetheless, I'm glad we were able to catch up. And full transparency, he was sitting on a Google Meet for about 10 minutes before we popped on this. So that is how prepared we are. Any last words before I let you go, man?
No, man. I'm glad we finally got to connect here offline on a video call. And dude, it was fun. It was a fun conversation.
Cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. This has been KJ's Corner, another edition of that under the I'm Breaking Into Tech umbrella. If you like this episode, please give it a like. Subscribe to our channel because you'll probably see me releasing one of these once a month, and then we'll have our live webinars coming back. Otherwise, Armando, thank you once again for the time, and we'll see y'all next time. Cheers, guys.